Yes, here we are, another week of Punt Pals podcast. Absolutely sensational to be here as we record on a Thursday afternoon, the 26th of September. My name's Robbie Von. This is Nick Ristovic. G'day, buddy. How are you today?
Travelling very well, mate. And yourself?
I'm very good, thank you. Came off a great weekend of sport. I've been excited all week to do the potty, and now here we are, finally.
You're up and about today, aren't you, mate? Big time.
Up and about, mate.
I think
As
the
I should
AFL
be.
finals have got you fired up.
Yes.
Bit of Grand Prix action as well.
Yes.
There's plenty to get through today, isn't there?
Bit of racing. Yeah, there's a bit of everything. It's actually really cool, man. And we should just say at the start, jump on our socials, TikTok and Instagram at Punt Pals Pod. Also the Facebook as well. Email puntpalspodcast@gmail.com. Stream us on Apple, Spotify and iHeart. Follow, 5-star, share with your mates. Get amongst it for Punt Pals podcast. We love seeing your tips as well.
We do love the tips, mate.
We love the tips.
We love going through them. We like to celebrate the epic wins and the short losses, don't we, mate?
And it's always short losses. We're always close, aren't we? Are we always close?
Yeah, we're always around the mark, mate.
Today's podcast, it's huge, mate. We've got the prelim final review. We'll just go over that quickly because we've got bigger fish to fry now. The grand final is happening this weekend. It's going to be massive.
Yeah, mate. All eyes on the MCG on Saturday.
Hell yeah. Hoops Fest as well to chat about. The Underwood Stakes. Previewing the big dance, as we said, mate. It's all happening on Punt Pals podcast. And I guess the first thing we'll do is find out about what the hell you've been doing, because I hear a little birdie tells me that you had a bit of a faux pas at work over the week. Do we want to talk about this?
I think we better get it out there, mate.
I think we better get it out there because from what I hear, you've really thrown the cat amongst the pigeons.
Yeah, look, I might need to be doing this full time to pay the bills moving forward after the unfortunate incident during the week. I was over in Melbourne, obviously, you know, for the Backing the Punt conference. And, had to give a bit of a review to the all-staff meeting earlier in the week. And unfortunately, as I opened the review with all the people in the room, unfortunately mistake the word punt with the other word, which starts with a C, which we won't go with. So it was a good icebreaker.
Family podcast.
But let's just say I probably won't be welcome back for the next all-staff update, mate. So, yeah, haven't heard the end of it, and I don't think I will from the boys for some time.
What was the reaction in the room like when you've just dropped a C-bomb in a government agency?
Wasn't great. I think it probably livened up the topic I was talking about, which is about wagering and, the trends we're seeing in the Australian industry and economy at large.
Yep.
So that was a good one to sort of get people engaged. But it's fair to say there are a few people just sort of coming up to me afterwards and saying, great presentation, holding back the laughter inside.
HR department?
I've just got a meeting with them on Monday.
Congrats.
No, I don't know. No follow-up just yet. I think a few might have missed it, but it's out there now, mate.
Yeah, well, it's out there now. Nick gets the incorrect buzzer for his faux pas over the week.
Yeah, the trivia goes all right, but on the podcast, but can't get the Backing the Punt conference terminology out there, mate. How was your week? You were all in the NBL world.
I was all in
mate.
the NBL world.
Very
Actually, I've got a
excited
bit
about
going on, mate. So went to Hoops Fest Friday. That was really good. The Wildcats game, their first game of the year, and they smashed them. The Phoenix, the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix. It was very good. It was a good game. Did you keep an eye on it?
Always, mate.
Always. You
Love my
it.
Cats, you know.
Love it.
At Sneaker Fest as well?
Sneaker Fest, I dropped in there. Oh, it wasn't for me, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
Didn't do any damage?
Nah, you just pay $30 and it's a big shop.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I could have gone into the city. So
Sneaker Fest is a big bit.
give it a bow. Yeah, all right, fine. It was all right, man. It was well put together, but you know, I'm glad I got a free ticket. Put it that way.
Okay.
But a couple of good things for me this week, mate. Yeah. So yesterday I went to lunch at the Queen's in Mount Lawley.
Lovely spot.
They have an amazing Wednesday Palmer special.
Okay.
It's $20 for the Palmy. And
that's Melbourne prices, isn't it?
Melbourne prices. And the good thing is they've turned it into a full Italian restaurant there. It's beautiful. So this Palmy is Italian style. It's got like the big, thick chicken breast, spaghetti underneath, your normal Palmy topping, like, you know, a bit of red sauce and cheese.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, they've got prosciutto.
Prosciutto, I think, might be.
Yep, that. Yep. And then this beautiful cheese on top. So
That sounds lavish.
It was awesome. I didn't eat dinner last night. So for $20, I think we might have to have a Punt Pals podcast team lunch there next Wednesday.
Outside broadcast sort of jobby, mate, you reckon?
Nah, we're not working.
Straight the palmies with a few beers to support, mate, obviously.
Yeah, a few Guinness. We could maybe go there and make a couple of videos. You know?
I think so. And you're an owner, obviously, of racehorse too. I hear whispers there might be a race coming up for your horse. Is that correct?
Well, it did come out of Own the Dream, of course, something that we've worked on the last couple of years. And essentially, man, me and my wife with a few other friends bought 10% in a horse which is going around in Northam. Race 4, number 4, Prince of Bondi, first ever run.
First ever run. How exciting. How are you feeling?
Really excited. A little bit unsure of how he's going to go because we've even got the message from the trainer today essentially saying don't get your hopes up too much just because he's young, he's fresh. He's still got to work it out. So he said he'll be happy if he hits the line hard, but he's still got a bit to sort of work out in that big head of his yet.
I feel like trainers could just record that and play that en masse.
Pretty much. And you can do it for any
educational
horse.
run, you know. He'll take some benefit out of the run and hopefully he gets cleanly out of the barriers and hits the line hard. Standard, right?
Hang on. I think that's the actual transcript from the update.
I've been there a few times, but it's nonetheless so exciting. And Bondi the Stallion, obviously.
Yes, Stallion. Paying 51. Okay. So it's juicy odds.
Going in the best bets this week?
Yeah. I put 10 each way. Won't be putting it in the best bets.
What if it wins at 51s and you've only had 10 shekels each way, though? How would you be feeling? You be happy still?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at this point, I can definitely say this. It's not worth putting more on that because the likelihood is it's going to lose.
I've just heard black book it and load up. That's my interpretation.
Well, unfortunately, by the time this podcast gets released, it will have run already, so people won't be able to take that tip on, which I'm actually happy about because then no one can blame me for losing money.
That's good. That's what happens to us every week, pretty much.
Exactly
It's just a repeat of familiar territory for us.
Actually, you've been an owner before. I want to ask you this before you get into it. So you know the pressure when you want to share a tip with mates and say, oh, my horse is running well this weekend.
Yeah.
The trainer said it's going to win. This is a go-to, boys. Get on it. Chuck it in the group chat. And so you do that and it loses. But every time you get a little bit shaky about it and you go, I'm not sharing it this time. I've shared too many losses. It wins and you get in trouble.
You can't win, really.
You can't win.
It's a familiar story for most owners out there. And also you want to get the price too.
Yeah.
So you want to be as an owner on the price when it opens, and then the trainer gives you the pre-race report generally the day before.
Yep.
Tells you how the horse is performing, but by then you probably had your bet.
Yeah.
And then you can always forward that onto the boys or the groups that you're involved in to try and get them interested in what's happening. But if it goes pear-shaped, it's already hard enough to see your horse probably not get over the line or finish towards the tail end. But when you've got the boys piling into you as well.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah, it's not great, is it? So, yeah, it's a big roller coaster, isn't it, ownership, and an exciting one nonetheless.
It is great. It's so good. I remember actually... when Almighty Will, my old horse, was racing one day, I stopped the whole office essentially, put it on the TV. The trainer had given it a pump up, ran last, and everyone's just looking at me like, you're an idiot, mate. So I don't think I got anyone to bet on it that day, thankfully, but, it's the ups and downs.
It is, mate. Yeah, I've got a few fond memories of having horses over in Melbourne, and some had one at Caulfield where I was working at the time.
Oh, hello.
But probably the best weekends are when you just get away to some ridiculously regional track in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you just have a boys' weekend out there, and regardless of how the horse runs, it's a good excuse to get together, isn't it?
100% it is, mate. 100% it is. You got to love your racing, and it is a fun thing to do. And as we sort of spruik with Own the Dream as well, doesn't have to be expensive. Like, we're not paying a lot of money for our horse and for the monthly fees and everything. So as we get into the podcast and our bets from the weekend, that's our one little bit of advice. Get into it if you can.
Yeah, I think so, mate, definitely. And we might even set up a little syndicate of our own for some of the punters out there maybe in future years.
I'm not against it. We just got to grow a little bit more. We need a few more listeners. If we can build that listenership up a little bit more, then all of a sudden we're there.
Yeah, it won't be long, mate.
It won't be long, man. It won't be long at all. All right, so let's get into our punts from last week. And we'll start off with you, man. How did you go?
I just don't seem to be able to get a weekend where I can get a win in the ponies and a win on the AFL at the same time.
Yeah,
so
I know. It's tough, isn't it?
It's always a 50-50 split. I guess I had a profitable weekend overall.
That's good.
But just some absolutely heartbreaking losses, really, in the AFL.
Right.
So today, hopefully, we can go through a few of the lessons from last week for the punters, because I think there are a few, aren't there?
There's always a few lessons, man. There is. And all right, Let's have a look.
Let's go with you first, mate. I reckon.
You want to have a go at mine first?
Yeah, I'd like to. All
right, so you just want to tip the loser first. Now, I didn't put any money on this, but I did tip the 2 winners on the weekend.
Lovely.
I did say in the potty that I thought there was going to be an upset and it wouldn't be Port. It would be Brisbane. So I took Port. I took bloody. I'm losing my mind here, mate. I took bloody Sydney and Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a done deal. There was no money on it, though, but I was just very proud of that.
Second week in a row, may I add, mate.
Boom, boom. I tell you what, my finals tipping's going a lot better than my mid-season tipping. But anyway, I took Will Ashcroft for 25 plus into Luke Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Luke Power retired a long time ago.
2
goals. That was paying $6.12. $50 on it. No deal.
You're stiff, mate.
Yeah.
I also took Parker, and we know the story, don't we?
Yeah.
Went to Aaliyah to play a negating role and pretty much just closed him out of the game.
Yep.
So there's the first lesson for the punt for the weekend. Not much you can do about negating forwards who aren't really there to kick goals, but to keep the opposition backs out of the game. So he did have a couple of shots, but it didn't fire a goal in the end, did he?
Nah, I think he got a point in the end. Bit disappointing, but that's the way it goes. And he did a good job on Aaliyah. I also went a bit speculative and went Will Ashcroft for 30 plus at 6.25. I thought after the last couple of weeks it was a possibility.
Yeah.
$20 on it. No deal. Ashcroft started all right, I thought, but just didn't happen.
Started really well. Finished on 22. So if he'd stayed with his first half sort of form, I thought he would have got there in the end too. But $6.25, as you said, mate, you got to have a little something on that, don't you?
Yeah, you do. I was surprised. He very much went missing in that third quarter.
He did. Big time.
But that's what happens when you're a young fella and you're coming off a couple of big games.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep that momentum.
It is, mate. And you got some momentum at the end of the weekend, though, didn't you? Because your third bet. Tell us about this one.
So Lando Norris, Singapore Grand Prix, $2.75, add 30 on it. Very happy. But and that was an 82.50 return, so it kind of evened me out again.
Yeah.
But the thing I really liked about it, Nick, was that you actually sent me through a little special that Tab Touch were having. And it was Oscar Piastri to get a place, essentially. He was in the top 3.
The podium finish, mate.
Yep, $30 on it, 150 return. Thank you very much. So cheers for that, mate.
No, you're welcome. These sort of tips only sort of come out over the weekend once they finish qualifying.
Yep.
We quickly worked to try and make sure everyone's aware, and I'm glad you got on, mate, like many other punters did, so it's good to put a bit of money back in the coffers there.
100%. It's a very nice feeling, so that was a big tick. Mate, what about you? How did your tippies go?
Well, first one I had Heaney 30 plus at 410. I thought that was just a price I couldn't turn down. 24 positives for him in the end, and probably the lesson there was as the game margin kind of blew out a little bit, he spends a bit more time forward.
Yep.
And probably not in the guts. That probably cost me a little bit there in the first bet. And then Parker, we know what happened. The jinx, we both got on it. And,
the jinx, sorry, I
goes
forgot to
down
call
in
that
flames.
before.
Yeah, mate, Aaliyah. Thanks, Aaliyah, for taking that bet. But
damn you!
But to your point, played the team role and they got the win anyway, Sydney. So it's probably a good coaching move there from Horse. I multied the best bets again. Parker was involved. Probably shouldn't have had him across 2 different bets there. He's let me down. So Parker and Papley for 2. Papley got his 2. Jezza for 3. Didn't get there. And Neil for 30 at $35. 50-50 result there. Papley kicks 2. Neil racked up 31, which I thought everyone was knocking him. Sorry, had a sore foot there and probably wasn't going to be prolific, but he was. And then, Leicester, man, did an unbelievable job on Cameron, really.
He
Most
did a great job,
experienced player in the Brisbane side. And I thought even 8 intercept marks for the game, I think, for him. So
that's huge.
Yeah, Jezza kicked 2-3 and didn't get the job done. Finished with a bang with the horses, thank gosh.
Yeah, so you did very well on the horsies this weekend. Well done to you. Give us a rundown.
Yeah, well, I've sort of toyed with going with each way bets on a few speculative prices in previous weeks, and this time I just went with 2 absolute bankers, really, and just multied them up together. So
love it.
There's
never a banker in horsing, though.
Oh, this is true.
Yeah.
No, there isn't, mate. There isn't. But as close to as you can get as a banker. So I went with another wheel at Caulfield in race 5, the Testarossa Stakes.
Smashed it.
Into Autumn Glow at Randwick in the T-Rose. And got $3.75. So had to end up with a $100 profit there on that particular bet.
Well done, mate.
Which was nice.
A little bit of a clap. Good stuff.
Yeah, thanks, pal. Yeah, it's good to get one up. But I was nervous, mate. I'll tell you why. Because Jamie Carr had another wheel in the plum spot.
Yes.
She probably want to come off the rail, maybe one or two, because it wasn't racing too well on the inside there at Caulfield. And got squeezed up against the rail halfway down the straight.
Yeah.
No, this is a good thing beating here. And luckily, the horse just went, yeah, is that all you got, boys? And just went bang, mate, straight up the inside there and got the job done. And then Autumn Glow was just an absolute easy watch, mate. Cruised up alongside them and didn't even get the whip out, I don't think. So $80 profit for the weekend overall was a pretty good result considering where we started with the AFL.
Good stuff. Hey, man, we were evens.
Yeah.
We both had $80.
We'll take it, mate.
We'll take it.
Boom.
Boom. Thank you very much.
Here we go.
Any other betting things you want to chuck in there?
Oh, mate, there was a couple of unlucky ones. I backed a 5-leg horse multi down at the local TAB on the weekend. And probably the shortest price favourite, which I had to place, came fourth.
Oh.
So that was a 300 collect from 20. And
that would have been nice.
That really hurt me. And then a couple of others. Had an SGM on the Brisbane-Geelong game. Same game multi for those playing at home. Danaher any time after kicking 4 the week before. We know what happens. Yeah, Oscar McInerney goes down. Danaher goes in the ruck. Doesn't make it any easier to cop, though, does it?
No, it does not. It's funny, though, because I had the same thing in a 20-leg same game multi. And it was Stengel and Danaher that let me down. Stengel went missing. Danaher actually played a really good game in the ruck, but he just didn't go in that forward line. He did not step foot in the 50 after half-time.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I guess you just feel a little bit unlucky, don't you, really?
Yeah.
Your backing players in form, not go there. But Tyson Stengel, to your point, what a stinker.
Yeah, it was a shocker, wasn't it? He
Zero
just couldn't
off
get near
5,
it.
man.
Yeah.
And he's missed 2 dribblers from 10 metres out in front, which you'd normally bank him in 99 times out of 100.
100%.
So, yeah, he had a bit of a night to forget. And my group chat was just blowing up, really, because he's averaged, I think, 1.5 goals a game and has scored pretty much in every single round.
And I think he was coming off 3 and 4 or something stupid like that. So,
yeah, anyway.
I don't know. I like to leave goal kickers out of multis a lot of the time, which doesn't really reflect in what I'm about to tell in my betting later on. But I think it is a tough one. Like, possessions are an easier one to bank on as long as there's no injuries. That's my take.
I guess on the flip side, you're never out of it with a goal scorer, though, are you?
Well, that's true. That is very true.
You're still alive right to the end. You could get a cheap one over the top, or player gets out the back and scores one late in the game, and then you multi-land. So I'm with you. I kind of go between both options, just depending on how confident I am in the player. And even when you're bloody confident in the likes of Stengel or Danaher, it still goes down, mate, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Well, I have a lot of rules in punting, and I don't follow any of them. So I go what's good on the day. And it tends to work sometimes.
Yeah, I love that.
Occasionally. All right, mate. Well, we've got Loco Collins. How did he do in his NFL bet this week?
2 weeks in a row, 50-50 strike rate for him.
Yeah.
So he lost a couple of legs. And I guess the feedback from him just saying it's early in the NFL season. They're still sorting the weed out from the chaff a little bit, and he's going to go again today, and I think he's going to just even fly further away from the sun, as we talked about last week, with one a little bit shorter. So, he's generally a very good tipster and very good with his NFL, so I'm sure he'll turn it around quickly.
He definitely reined it back last week as well. I think he went to a 3-legger, so it'll be interesting to see what he does this week later on in the podcast. And Tone's hot footy tip, again, he missed out, but only by 1 leg. So he was doing all right. He was very confident over the weekend messaging me, but I got the faithful text on Monday morning to say, didn't happen this week, mate. Again.
Yeah, it's tough.
He'll get there, though.
Yeah, one leg misses do suck, though, don't they?
They really do. He's got another one for us this week, so you never know. This could be his week. This could be his week.
I love it all, just all of us just to land one in the same week.
Yeah, wouldn't it be huge?
I think we'd have a little listeners' party of some sort then, wouldn't we?
I think
Head
we'd
down
have
the Queens.
Oh, yeah, Palmy Day at the Queens. Yeah, we can't quite afford to really go lavish yet, but we'll shout at Palmy. Done
exactly.
deal. All right, as we said, it was a big weekend of footy. Couple of prelims. We put together some takeouts from it, so let's talk some footy right now.
We're pretty excited, aren't we?
Very excited.
It's hard to look in the revision mirror a little bit and take some lessons out of last weekend, but it is important for the grand final.
I think it is. Yeah.
So we've got a couple here, don't we, mate? We've got the first one
Sorry,
being...
I just had to take a drink of water.
The first one, the Lions just love how to come back, don't they? They really know how to find a way.
They have become the comeback kings. Obviously, it was Collingwood the last couple of years, but the Lions have gone, you know what? We kind of like that area. We might take over. And they're doing it from almost bigger margins.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and in finals.
I guess it defies that logic around, well, if you have a hard-fought win the previous week, you kind of run out of gas in the following week. It's something I've always kind of thought has rung true in footy, but not for the Lions.
Nah, but it's not sustainable, is it? You can't keep doing that every week. They actually have to get out to a good start.
Yeah, and Sydney are Sydney notoriously so starters, and they defied that again on the weekend and actually just went bang in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get a read, but yeah, if they allow Sydney to have a good first quarter and they get a few goals in front, I don't know. I think Sydney are a different team to some of the teams they've been chasing down in recent weeks.
That's true. Cam Rayner, he had a pretty good game on Saturday night. He got in there in the second half, especially. What your take on him?
Well, he cooked me the week before.
Yeah, he cooked everyone the week before.
And then so I'd kind of burnt him, and then he's just come out, kicked that one from the left foot from outside 50 to ice the game.
Yep.
And
pretty good.
Looked unbelievable. So he silenced his critics there, including myself. Happy to take one for that there, Rayner, for going hard on you the week before. But, mate, yeah, he's going to be a big player, and all the Brisbane Smalls were pretty good, weren't they?
Yeah. I'd like to see another round like that out of him, though. I mean, you don't have to be the absolute game changer, but you'd like to see some consistency out of him.
Yeah.
So hopefully he plays well this week, Rayner.
Yeah, your reputation's made in finals, isn't it, really?
It is. It really is. Danaher in the ruck. We've sort of touched on this already, but it did kind of, I won't say it exposed the Brisbane forward line because a few blokes did step up, but Danaher going into the ruck, it's not ideal, I don't reckon. You want him in the forward line.
I'm with you. They just have enough depth there. Like Eric Hipwood, he's a shade of his former self from a couple of years ago. I
don't mean to really just rag on plays, but he's a spud at the moment.
Yeah.
He's bad.
I can't have him. When he missed that one 15 metres in front the week before, I'd pretty much burnt him from that moment on. But
fair enough too.
Logan Morris is probably the up-and-comer there. He'll take a bit of that key forward pressure off Danaher. But yeah, who else do you go to for a long contest down the line? They're going to have to play some mongrel ball.
Yeah.
I reckon just get it in there. Bit of chaos. Yeah, just get it along the ground if you have to, because those small forwards will go to work.
Yeah, well, Archie, he was the one that really popped up as well. And I think you've got him mentioned here as well, so sorry to jump ahead on that.
No, mate, no, please.
He has broken out a bit this year in general, but his final series has been really good.
Yeah, he has. He's been clutch.
Yeah.
I think Kane Collins came out in the week and said he's probably the most underpaid player in the AFL.
Yeah.
And, that ended up being a very good shout. Kicked 3 absolute ripping goals on the weekend, didn't he, including a couple of goals from sort of 40, 45 out. And never looked in doubt. So, he's had an unbelievable year.
He's had a massive year. He really has. He's become a bit of a match winner in finals, just like Isaac Heaney. He's the man now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's back. We saw him pole pretty well on the Brownlow until he got rubbed out during the year. But he's just a match winner, man. Yep. He can go forward. He can go behind the footy and get you an intercept mark. He can go into the middle and win the hard footy. 24 disposals, 6 clearances and 2 goals is a pretty bloody great game, isn't it?
It's huge. It's massive. And he does seem to be that big game player. He likes the large moments. You know, when the game's on the line, he is going to be the guy that steps up. And I think he's proven it in a lot of games this year. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him on grand final day. I think this could be his field, you know?
I think so too. And the other thing I'd take about Isaac Heaney on the weekend was he went against Willem Drew, who's taken many scalps this year as a
He
tagger.
has.
So if you're going to get 24 and 2 goals on Willem Drew and better players in the Brownlow can't achieve that same feat, I think it speaks volumes to how great he's been this year.
And the thing about Heaney as well, he kind of does it all. Like, he's great at ground level. He'll get the hard ball, but then he can fly, take a massive mark, and he kicks goals. Like, he actually kicks goals. He doesn't miss under pressure like 80% of players do these days. He bangs it.
There was one where they looked to him in the forward pocket. And I think he was on young Jace Burgoyne.
Yep.
He just gobbled Jace Burgoyne up, didn't he? Boy, big forwards, get out the road. I'm going to win this one. And he just never looked like he was going to lose the contest, did he? Went back, slotted it.
It was a bad moment to be Jace Burgoyne. You know, when you won out with Isaac Heaney, you are stuffed.
Exactly, yeah. So, he's been going well, hasn't he?
He has. He's been going very well. As you said, the Sydney forwards are back as well.
Yep.
Key forward options. We've kind of touched on that a little bit for Brisbane, but Charlie Dixon has actually retired overnight. He's done. So what Port going to do there?
Well, they've got to provide some support for Georgiades.
Yeah.
So I think if you look at the model of North Melbourne going after mature age key position player and Jack Darling to take a bit of pressure off, I think that's probably where they need to go. They're in the window according to their committee and Ken and the senior figures there at the club. So the time's now.
Yeah.
They've got Ollie Lord there who hasn't been in great form in the twos, has been injured. He came in and kicked 4 one game, so he's got some scope. But to me, mate, the one area where they probably struggle a little bit, and let's leave Houston out of it, leaving the club potentially and going to Melbourne. So their backline's pretty solid. The midfield, we know about that.
Yep.
But forward, like you need guys that can clunk them.
Yeah, but they don't grow on trees. That's a problem. I don't know where they're getting it from.
They don't, man. And
They've got to develop a guy.
I guess
you're not going out and finding one.
Well, I guess Jack Lukosius is rumoured to go there, which we'll talk on in a little bit. He'll add some depth.
Yeah, true.
But
true.
he's not. His current form, he's not that key position.
He's not your big dog.
He's not Josh Tracy, is he? You know?
No, he's not Josh Tracy. Listen to this guy. He's not Nate Caddy.
Exactly. I like Nate Caddy, actually. I'd take him, man. I'd take him.
I hope he stays at Essendon, but who knows? Who knows the way the Dons are going? Lachie Neale, a lot of questions about him going into the game, but I'll tell you what, you said that, who did you say? Rayner silenced some critics, but Lachie Neale, he's even done it more.
Wish I took him for 30 past at 340. Lesson from the weekend.
Don't we all?
I liked him to bounce back, and he did. I just wasn't on.
But if you look at his form over the last 5 weeks, he hasn't really been hitting that 30 posse mark every week.
Been injured, man.
Been injured, yeah. So it's understandable. And you were saying he was in a moon boot at the start of the week, so it's understandable that you wouldn't take him for 30. Yeah,
absolutely. But you can't write him off in big games, can you? The dual Brownlow medalist, he's going to, when the pressure's on, he's going to be the player to go to. So he'll be prolific again on the weekend.
Yeah, as we just chat a little bit more about Geelong as we sort of finish up the prelim final chat. Bailey Smith, is he going to Geelong? Will he be handy there?
Well, we're sitting in the crowd with the Geelong players.
Yeah, how fun is that?
Weekend. And the director of Cotton On, which is a major sponsor of Geelong, and he is a key figure or media personality, brand representative
Ambassador,
for Cotton
you
On.
might say.
Ambassador, sir. That's the word I was looking for. The writing's on the wall, isn't it? Surely.
You would think so. I actually saw an interview on TV last night with Tom Hawkins when they were doing the Mad Monday celebrations, and they asked him about it, and Hawkins was just playing dumb. Like, he was just sort of going, I don't know about the seating arrangements. It's very strange, but, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
He knew.
He's gone. And their midfield mix, mate, Tanner Bruin and Atkins, they're serviceable players. I think Tanner Bruin's got some great skills. He polled pretty well in the Brownlow.
Great in the Brownlow.
For a young fella. But they need some more help in there in the midfield. No Joel Selwood and these types in the previous years that have gone out and retired. They need some depth, and Bailey Smith might just be that man on the outside they need.
Bruin let me down, actually. That 20-leg multi I had, I missed 3 legs, and it was Danaher, then it was Stengel, and then it was Tanner Bruin to get 15 plus.
Yeah, you'd bank him for 15, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he only got 9, and he sort of sat on that from midway through the third quarter, so I don't know if he was injured, but he went quiet.
Yeah, it's a stinger, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing.
All bankers, really, when you think about it. What was the collect, by the way? Just a foreseeable collect there? In the hundreds or?
No, it wasn't. I went for pretty low odds. Like, I think it was 39 or something.
Yeah, 39 to 1. Or...
Yeah.
That's pretty juicy, mate.
That's juicy, but for a 20 legger.
Yeah, true. You expect them over 50s to 1, sorry, 20 legs.
Yeah, I went conservative and went close. But, it's always 1 leg or 3 legs in this case. Maybe if I went a 10-legger, it would have been fine. Anyway, mate, let's move on to the grand final.
The granny.
Yes.
Beauty.
Brisbane and Sydney at the MCG this Saturday. It's going to be huge. Now, I just was thinking about this the other day when I was in the kitchen making a bit of dinner, right? It's the got to lose one to win one cup. You know how we always say a lot of teams have got to lose one, and that's how they go on to win one? Well, Brizzy lost last year. Sydney lost the year before. Yep. So who's lost one in order to win one? That's the question.
Yeah. It's tough, isn't it, with that logic?
Yeah.
You feel like the 2023 one might sting a bit more, I feel. They were there last year. It's fresh in the memory.
And it was kind of more expected, even though Collingwood were the hot favourites, where Sydney, they came out of the clouds a little bit.
Yeah, they did.
No one expected them to make the grand final that year.
Whereas this year, they've been the best team all year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think everyone expected them to be there and probably to win on the weekend based on the odds, which we'll go through later. But, that's an interesting one, mate.
It's very interesting, I think. And you've sort of mentioned before as well that the Swans are slow starters, which is going to make it interesting because, as we know, Brisbane like a comeback now.
Yeah, they do. And there's a nice stat there around sides that have led at 3/4 time there, mate.
Yeah, so I was having a look at Sportsbet and the 3/4 time line. Sydney a -3.5 at 191, and Brisbane have that head start of 3.5 points at $1.89. And I thought that was very interesting because we do say the third quarter is the premiership quarter. Yep. So there could be some nice juicy odds on that. And especially I'd be almost taking Sydney because we know Brisbane are the comeback kings.
22 of the last 23 times the side has led at 3/4 time in the grand final. They've gone on to get the chockies.
Man.
So Brisbane, don't leave it late.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The history's not in your favour. So I think you're right there. And those odds are much more juicy than the head-to-head lines, aren't they? So
They are.
I think, yeah, mate, there's a bit to play with there, isn't there?
There is. The rucks are going to be very interesting. We know the big O is out.
Yeah.
Is that going to have a big effect on Brisbane? It could, but Darcy Fort could step up to the plate.
Yeah, he's played some senior footy.
Yeah.
I mean, they just need to leave Danaher forward and have someone in the middle that can at least, nullify the contest in some way, shape or form. I've heard a lot of spooks about Grundy being a smoky for the Norm.
Oh, yeah.
Does he go and dominate Darcy Fort? Does he go back to that prior earlier season form where he's racking up posies in those second and third efforts out of the ruck? So I'm not sure I'm going that way, but yeah, mate, it could be an interesting part of the game where the Swans could get on top.
It's interesting you mentioned the normie for Grundy, and I do see where that's going. I just wonder, is Brizzy going to use Fort the whole time in the ruck? I guess it all depends on how he's playing, or is Danaher going to have to flip back in there? I hope he's not for Brisbane's sake, but who knows?
I don't like throwing a guy like Danaher in the ruck. Just risk of injury.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a bit precious, but I don't like to see key forwards like Danaher have been, marred with some pretty big injuries in past years, thrown into the ruck with a short-term view. I guess it is the grand final, so you're going to throw everything at it, but I'd much rather him forward of the ball. Gives him a lot more structure.
Yep, agree, but, grand final, you do what you got to do to win.
That's
And
it,
he
man.
is quite good in that role. Like,
Yeah.
I remember even when he was at Essendon, he was always good just outside the 50.
Yeah.
Like where he's roaming a bit more.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Like, you want to see Ford in the ruck if you can, but Danaher will do the job if he needs to.
And you love a bit of hit-outs punting in the past, haven't you?
Say that again?
You like a bit of punting on the hit-outs too, which we can't do anymore.
Mate, I was really surprised about this. You can't punt on the hit-outs. I went through a few different bet makers, and I could not find the markets at all. Like, because I was thinking that Grundy would be a good one for the above, for the overs, but just the market does not exist.
Yep.
And I was surprised about that.
Yeah, it is surprising. Maybe we can ask Tab Touch to come up with something for us.
Maybe.
But yeah, no, I like where your head was at with it.
Yeah. I just thought it was weird because I haven't really looked for that market in a long time. But when it made sense to me with the ruck contest, I thought, it's not there.
So I reckon, an extension to your point, if Grundy does dominate the ruck,
Yep.
surely Sydney's mids get first service.
You
Do you think it'll be
so.
a high possession game for some of those guys who play a lot of minutes through there?
That's a good point.
So that might be the silver lining maybe, but something to look at.
Or if Brizzy are smart and they don't feel like Fort's getting the job done, do the really good midfielders like Lockie Neal start playing to Grundy's tap?
Yeah, you're probably right. That's probably what will happen early, I reckon.
Yeah.
And you're going to have sweepers coming off half back there for the Lions just to make sure they don't get at the front of the stoppage. So, yeah, good shout, man.
What's Fort paying for the Norm Smith? Imagine that.
Is he on the page?
I don't know.
No one will take that bet probably, but I'd say he'd be 100-1 plus.
Yeah, he'd have to be.
Big Darcy. He can go forward and kick goals though too, Darcy. So
He'd have to be. I'm going to talk about Big Will Hayward from Sydney a bit later, and he's paying 81. So if he's paying 81, then I reckon Fort's paying over the hundreds.
He's got to be. If we don't have put something on him now, he's probably Devo.
Mate, you've done your research about uncontested marks as well. You got some stats?
Yeah, just a little bit around the game styles for both teams.
Yep.
I think it's really important to recognise the way the Lions love to play. They had 100 uncontested marks to 56 versus Geelong in the prelim.
Huge.
So they love to, and they pick their way through the zone and control the footy.
Yeah.
So they don't give the footy up. They don't like to have the ball in dispute, even though they've got great contested mids. They rate number one for uncontested marks in the league. So the Swans, if they're going to sit off and zone, which most teams love to play this modern brand of football where you zone off, it might hurt them. So they might want to look to go one-on-one with Brizzy, especially through the middle there in that middle section of the field, because I can't see how, if the Lions just retain the footy for long periods of time and pick their way through the Sydney zone, they won't be on the scoreboard. So, yeah, it's just going to be an interesting way that the Lions like to play their footy, and keep an eye out for a high possession count for some of those half-backs, man.
That's interesting, actually. Yeah, especially blokes like Zorko, isn't it? Like,
Correct.
he loves a mark. Like, I saw this stat, and I went, whoa, now you've brought up marks. This is a really nice little market. So, Zorko has had 7, 10, 5, 1, and 8 in his last 5 games, mark-wise. He's paying $1.08 for 6+ marks, which, let's be honest, like that's not very juicy at all. But if you just pop it up a bit, he's, I forget the numbers now, but for 8+, it's a little bit more juicy. It's around that $1.40 mark. But on that same sort of stream, Jake Lloyd is some real value. So Last week he got 9 marks, but the weeks before that he got 14, 7, 5, and 6.
Yep.
So he's paying $1.41 for 6+, which on his current vein of form he should do easily. But $2.40 for 8+, and when you consider that he's had 9 and 14 in his last 2 games, I like it.
They're both playmakers, man. I like it as well.
Yeah.
Like, they can hit the tough kicks. Like, Zorko has this, like, ability to be able to hit these low stab passes and pick off those really hard to kick targets in the middle.
Yeah.
So he's a guy who might get the kick out, might then get the cheeky hand pass 1-2, which gets 2 possessions for you there. And he does that 10 times. You're 20+, done. See you later. Money's in the bank. And Jake Lloyd's very similar. So I like those stats from you. He's a playmaker. He's a guy with those repeated efforts that he has a great tank. I think opposition players struggle to go with him for a full game, and he's been off the chain. I think he had 34 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, he would have. Yep.
So, yeah, man, there's a couple of guys there that some punters should be looking at.
As a punter, I love nothing more than those guys that get useless possessions.
The 1-2s.
Yep, the 1-2s. Darcy Parish, love you, man.
So Nick Dacos, throw him in that category as well. He might get 3 cheap handballs in one chain of footy.
He does that well. He does that very well. One thing that's going to be massive in this game is Brisbane's goal kicking. Can they kick straight enough to actually win the game?
Yeah, worst team in the league. Third worst team in the league for accuracy, 47% in front of goal.
Man, that's shocking.
Oh.
How do you finish 5th on the ladder and have that sort of stat hanging over you?
It just means you're shooting at goal a lot more than other teams, and you've literally got to have 10 more shots to probably win.
Yep.
So, yeah, they find a way to get those shots on goal. And last week, they actually turned a little bit around, so we can't hang too much shit on them in that regard. But
yeah, we can.
Just go after them, you reckon?
They got form.
So, yeah, if they do that again the weekend, I think Sydney will punish them, whereas sides haven't been able to do that when they're lesser quality.
Yeah, I thought there was some interesting markets about most goals for the game as well, because Joe Danaher is that guy that has probably more ability than anyone to kick 5 or 6. Like, if you look at the other plays for both sides, they're all around about that 3 mark tops. Like, yes, Amadi kicked 9 goals once in a game, but he's never really gone any more than 3. Nah. He may have once or twice. So these are the guys where you go, okay, we're going to get 3 out of him. Charlie Cameron could be a smoky to get 4 potentially, but if Danaher's not in the ruck and he's playing forward, he could kick that 4 or 5. If he's in the ruck, maybe Charlie Cameron at 650 is pretty good value to pop up and kick 4.
Yeah, so 430 for Danaher to score most goals in the game.
Yep.
And Cameron's at 650 for more than 3.
Correct.
Both great prices, aren't they?
Yep. Oh, no, that's just most goals in the game for Cameron. Yeah, I just think, he can kick more than 3.
Well, 10 on each, mate. You're still going to be in front, aren't you?
Yep. Bloody oath you are. So,
that's the sort of way you play, isn't it?
And one of them should pipe up and do it. If Brisbane win, that is.
Yeah, that's the big if, isn't it?
Yep. Maybe Hipwood will pop up and kick 5 just because we're sinking the boots into him at the moment.
That's probably the way. It's been like that all season, hasn't it, really?
Pretty much. What's the record between these two anyway?
Brizzy's only won... Brisbane's won its last 3 games against Sydney. So... interesting that in those last 3 games they've had the wood on Sydney.
Yeah, well, the last game especially that they played, that was a ripper. Remember they won by a couple of points? It was like a classic game, probably one of the best games of the year.
It was a good game, mate.
I hope we have a repeat of that. That'd be nice.
Yeah, so there's another stat around the bogey side. But again, it's hard to take that sort of science into big games like this. They've both been there. Sydney have clearly been the best side all year, so they deserve it. Favouritism there, mate, for sure. So
Brisbane kind of likes playing against Sydney. Is that what we can sort of?
I think so. Yeah, I think they match up well against Sydney.
Yeah.
Like Sydney don't have that damaging Jeremy Cameron style forward, so it allows Harris Andrews to, lay off a little bit, get those intercept marks and play his game. So, yeah, they just match up well, I think.
They really do. And McCluggage loves it against Sydney too, eh?
He frosts it, mate. 26 plus posies in his last 2 games against Sydney.
Huge.
He was big again last week. $1.93 for 25 at the moment in the game. So he's another good person to have a look at.
I like it. He really could step up. So let's look at our best bets of the week. Obviously, the Swans are paying $1.73 as the favourites going into this match. The Lions at 2.10. What do you like in the look of with this Tab Touch special?
It's a Norm Smith medal special, which is something which is fairly new, I think, for the Tab Touch lads.
That's good, because we all love a bet on the Normie.
Yeah, we do, man. And I guess there's value in the Normie. So the special basically is you get 30 posies or your player kicks 3 goals and you get your money back up to $30.
Love it.
So naturally, you're going to highlight probably the key forwards or the guys that have been kicking goals in recent weeks and have a crack at those guys that rack them up pretty consistently in the middle. So for me, Heaney at $5 and Zorko at $11.
Good.
I'll tell you, I really liked. Zorko's going to have an absolute ton of it off halfback.
Yep, he always does.
Unless they
days.
tag him, but yeah, I think Heaney's the same. Then he can kick goals and rack up posies, so they're both good shouts. What about you, man?
Well, they just don't tag Zorko though, do they? Anyone?
No,
that's interesting.
They don't rate him, do they?
No, they don't. But it's hard, I guess, when you've got Neil and McCluggage and Ashcroft. Like, who do you tag? Robbie, that is me. I'm going with Will Hayward. I just think he's a guy that's capable of popping up and kicking 3 goals. And if he can do that at an important time of the match, then he has a chance to pop up and win that Norm Smith. So I thought at $81, it's a huge amount of value, a little bit speculative, but there's a chance it could happen. So I'm kind of hedging my bets in that way as far as I reckon if something pops out and I focused on the 30 posies and 3 goals bit. Like if he can kick 3 goals, he could win it.
Yep.
But if he can kick 3 goals and he doesn't win it, I still get my money back. So I like that bet.
He's probably one of the better mid-sized forwards in the game, Hayward.
Yeah, he is.
You can't send your sort of fourth key back to him. He'll get on top. Now, he plays tall. He rows well, so yeah, I don't mind it. $81 especially. Wow.
It's pretty good. And I didn't want to go a jinx bet with Heaney because I thought, obviously, Heaney was a good to go one at $5. So I thought, do you know what? Charlie Cameron, talking about goals before, I reckon he's a chance to pop up, kick the most goals for Brisbane, and if they win, probably gets him a Norm Smith. So I thought, again, 3 goals very likely, so there is a chance I can get my money back if he doesn't win the Norm.
Yeah, good from you there. I don't mind that. Charlie doesn't need much of a sniff to get a couple of goals on the board, does he?
No, he doesn't, and he can do it quickly. That's the thing I like. He can have a quiet first half and then go bang in the second half.
I think so, mate. I think so.
Any other best bets for you?
2 more, mate. Calamarchi, 2 plus 380. Yes, please.
Thank
How much
you.
can I have on?
Boom.
Kicked 3 last weekend. Only needs a little sniff. Kicking from everywhere. So 380 is ridiculous price. Price is wrong there for me. Isaac Heaney, 20 plus disposals and 2 plus goals. It's $2.75 price lock on Tab Touch. If he doesn't get that, he's probably had a shit game.
Yep.
So I think that's a pretty good price there at $2.75 for 20 and 2 goals.
Yeah, I think with that one, you're right. If he doesn't get 20 possessions and 2 goals, we would say he's had a shit game on his standards.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, like absolutely big reputations building big games.
Yep. So victim of his own standards, but that's all
he's
good.
A freak, isn't he,
mate?
What are you liking for head to head though, mate? This is the tough part, I guess.
I'm taking the Lions.
Okay.
I think they're going to be the second team to win it outside the top 4. They just seem to be on a bit of a roll. The Swans obviously amazing, but I mean, when you look at this game, someone's got to lose. It's hard to pick the winner, but you just go, one of these teams has to lose. So I'm going to say the Swans are going to be that team.
I agree with you.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Brizzy as well?
Well, I just think Brisbane, 2 hard-fought wins, full of confidence.
Yep.
Swans, they've been the best team all year. Have they been tested the last 2 weeks? Perhaps against GWS recently, but not so much in the game prior. So I reckon the Lions might come out and have a really good start.
Love it.
That's what I'm expecting, and then it's obviously going to be clawing it back from there for the Swans. And I don't think they have those big game goal kickers that can kick 4 or 5 like Danaher to get them back in the game. So, Lions, good value at 210. Despite everyone else saying put as much money as you can on the Swans, I've been hearing. And I'll be with the Lions, man.
Yeah, I think that is the smart play from a punting point of view. Great value at 210. And the other thing as well, they finished 5th, but there's every argument that they were the second best team of the year. Like, they could have finished second if they didn't stuff a few things up. So
went wrong mid-season for them a little bit, didn't it? Fell off a little bit. And
a slow start. So they're good enough to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah, don't read too much into that mid-season form.
Nah.
I think teams try and get Cherry right and their senior players Cherry right for the end of the season. So not reading into that too much. And Katy Perry might go with a bit of raw action at the grand final. So that might be an omen.
Oh, okay. Is there a market on what she sings first?
I think we should create one.
Yeah, okay. Let's do it. She's starting with Raw. Yep, you're right.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right. So before we get into a quick Brownlow review, mate, you've got a few player movements here for Freo on West Coast.
Yeah, just a couple. We went through a pretty big review last week. So Fremantle have delisted Sebi Kuek.
Never heard of him.
Looked like a bit of a freak there for East Perth. Unfortunately, had a knee injury and didn't see the best of him. Ethan Hughes, who's been serviceable for them. Yeah. Played really well in the grand final there in the Waffle.
Yep.
He's been really good depth player for them. And then the much maligned Matty Taberner.
It's a good way to describe him.
Has unfortunately, or fortunately for some Freo fans, will find his way out of Fremantle and who's rumoured to go to another club potentially and continue his career.
Oh, I can see that. But yeah, Freo fans whipping boy. You
Yeah.
guys hate Matty Taberner.
Yeah, I feel for him a little bit sometimes. Hasn't had a lot of support up there, to be fair, until recent years when he's probably lost his spot to the younger guys coming through. And then West Coast, Zane True, unfortunately, and Jermaine Jones both delisted as well. So I thought both of those players had a fair enough crack at it and probably just couldn't cement their spot in the side, man.
Didn't quite happen. And when you're trying to build a list, I guess you go, all right, who's going to be in our next premiership?
Yeah.
Won't be those guys, so we'll move them on. So that's a bit sad, but
yeah,
you know it happens.
Sad, man. And then probably the last little quick update for trade news. Old Mr. Houston was on 3AW Adelaide. I think it was August this year. I'm staying at Port. I love the club. Backflipped. This week he wants to go back to Melbourne. So, yeah, mate. Pretty weird story, that one, but it happens every year, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the thing is, we always kind of knew that was going to happen. It seemed to be the talk, but he wasn't coming out and saying it, and there you go.
You can't read into anything they tell you during the season anymore.
Exactly. You also touched on the fact that Lukosia's probably going to Port, so that's going to be good for them and good for their forward stocks, I guess, and their depth.
Yeah. No, you're right, mate. I think he's actually a really good pickup. I think we haven't seen the best of him at Gold Coast, and I think moving into a team that's in the premiership window, it's going to push him to retain his spot in the side.
Yep, big tick.
There's bigger things to play for, I think, at Port at the moment than Gold Coast.
Yep. Very good call there. We'll move on to the Brownlow, on to Charlie. It was a huge night. Cripper won it with 45. It was a record. We all know the story there that he beat it by 9 votes. Dacos also beat the record. So it was a high-scoring night. What was your take on it, mate?
It was just, I kind of lost a bit of interest towards the end.
Yeah.
I love my AFL, and one thing I love about the Brownlow is just the highlight package for each of the rounds.
Yes.
I went to the Fremantle Doig Medal the week before and had nothing on the Brownlow. It was just epic.
You had nothing on it at all?
No. I thought the highlights packages are just supreme, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Brownlow night.
Yeah.
Whereas Freo's probably weren't as good to be expected. But
mate. Sorry, I misheard what you said there.
Yeah.
Okay, the countdown didn't have I thought you said you had nothing bet-wise on the Brownlow, and I was going to say,
oh, no.
Do you want me to check your fever? You all right, mate?
You know me better than that, mate. So, yeah, top 5. Butter's obviously rounding out there with 29, Sarong 28, and Heaney 28. So, there are a few key takeouts, man. I guess Cripps having 12 3-vote games is just ridiculous, isn't it?
Huge. Absolutely massive. There's a lot of talk around Cripper now as far as, is he just favoured by the umpires? Because it was a pretty outrageous amount of votes that he got. I don't know.
Is he just that much better than everyone else in that midfield?
Well, he probably is.
Oh, that's kind of where I sit on it.
Yeah. I mean, he had a very good year. He did.
He did, mate. He did. And so did Carlton to a large extent. They fell away.
Yeah, they started well.
But yeah, he was the only one really flying the flag right through to the fourth quarter, even in games where they were out of it. So I think that's something that Michael Voss needs to have a good hard look at. He becomes the first Carlton player to win 2 Brownlows whilst at Carlton.
Oh, really?
Which is interesting. And yeah, WA boy, man. We love the WA boys.
Oh, mate, Northampton would have been going off on Monday night.
Yeah,
absolutely
JK
wild.
would be down there at the pub as well.
100%.
Another good Northampton boy, eh?
Yeah. Who else is from there? Jamie Cripps. There's a few others, yeah.
Jesus. The scouts will be up there in the future years, I guess.
You would bloody hope so, wouldn't you? You would bloody hope. Lacra's from the area. I don't think he's Northampton. I think he was more Gero. Obviously, Harry Taylor's from the area. Like, it's a pretty fertile ground there for like recruiting in general.
Well, any danger of any of them staying in WA as well?
That is a good question. Oh, you want to use the little charger there, bro?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Nico, you're running out of battery. We can't have that.
Yeah, look, mate, she's heating up in the old pouch. Although the Bond again, I'd been speaking him all year. Happy to eat my heart there. He was pretty hard luck story. I think 19 votes, but Trelaw was the guy who probably spoiled the party. He had 24 votes. And interestingly, the Bont had 36 touches in round 2 for 0 votes. So there's been a few questions around how the voting's done, isn't there?
There is a few questions. I would ask, though, everyone's talking about the Bont, but was he stealing Trelaw's votes? Obviously, he got 26. Trelaw could have been in the 30s if Bont wasn't in there all the time just stealing his votes.
There we go. There's always the 50-50 views in there, man. But no, you're right. No, Trelaw had an outstanding season, didn't he?
He had a great
What
season.
A pickup.
I'm still pissed that he got in the All-Australian over Zach Merritt, though.
Zach Merritt just gets no love, eh?
No love. But,
Bro.
that's what happens when you play for the Bombers. We've brought it on ourselves.
We are, mate. There are a few good lessons on the punt, though, weren't there?
There was one thing that I loved, and I don't know if it's a lesson or just a great punt, was Tab Touch had this special where it was Brayshaw and Sarong to combine for 40-plus votes. You could only put $20 on it, unfortunately, but I took that 20 and turned it into 50 very easily. It was done by about round 19, I reckon. Awesome. They combined for about 46 votes in the end, so that was very good. That was a big tick.
Yeah, you just love those builders, don't you?
You do.
They also had the 30 votes plus money back special too. So I just loaded up on Cripps. Had as much money as I could on Cripps, and he'd cleared the 30 votes by, I think, round 13. And was just waiting for the bet to settle there. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Cripper came through with the goods for you, my friend.
There's a couple of things, wasn't there, man?
There was a lot going on. There was a lot going on with the Brownlow.
It's hard to bet on, I guess, because the voting's completely different to, say, the AFL PA Coaches Award or the League MVP, which are different awards. But I think you've just got to look for teams that don't have two standout mids.
Yeah.
So I think Sarong was pretty unlucky to finish fourth. Probably could have finished higher if Brayshaw didn't rob him of a few. We saw Libba and Treloar and Bont, and if they spread those votes out. So you can get sucked into some of the players that you think are the best in the league, but it only takes a couple games for them to miss out to 3 to a teammate, and suddenly you're not in the mix.
Yeah, and Cripps was a bit of an outlier there because I think teams who aren't winning much, they will then struggle to get as many votes. So I don't know. It's those teams that are winning that then have all the midfielders that are taking votes off each other. So it's hard to find that little happy medium, and obviously it worked with Cripps.
It is, man. And then
actually, funnily enough, Collingwood, because Dacos came second, and they didn't win that many.
Yeah, true. I guess, just could be that much better, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Sarong, good night. I reckon he's a big smoker for top 3. I'm going to go Sarong podium finish. Future special soon, I reckon. If Freo win more games, I think he could definitely be in the mix to win it in the next few years.
Yeah, he's a chance to win one at some point. I think he is elite, Caleb Sarong. And it amazes me too because he's so short. Like, you don't expect, especially when you look at Cripper or someone like that who's about 2 meters, you don't expect a guy like Sarong to be dominating anymore, but he is.
No, you don't, mate. And you also made a great call around it being the midfielder's only award too, right?
Yeah, it is. It's bullshit.
A couple of guys are bits different.
It's a joke. It's a joke, really. Like, I was looking at the forwards and the backs in the full vote. I just did a countdown through to have a look. And no one in the top 20. I think, Cameron came 19th.
Yep.
In the end, which was...
It's rough.
He had a good year, but Jesse Hogan, Coleman medalist, he came 22nd. Rowan Marshall came 20th. Tom Stewart was the highest ranked backman at 30. So, I don't know. It's just, when you talk about the best and fairest, doesn't necessarily have to be based on possessions.
No, that's right, mate. Impact on games.
Exactly. And the umpires don't pick that up. So the voting is a little bit unfair.
You got a roast coming here? Or? Sounds like you're getting fired up.
Close to it, mate. Close to it. All righty, mate. We better move on. NBL.
Yes.
NBL. So you've got a big review going on here.
Man, I just love seeing the Wildcats in action again.
Yeah. It's great, isn't it?
A huge Wildcatsman. All eyes on Perth last week, obviously, for the opening round here. And the Wildcats delivered big time, didn't they?
Huge.
You saw it live. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and I've got to admit, mate, I'm not as up with the Wildcats as I used to be. So, I know Cotton, I know Pinder, I know a few of the other players. So I can't give you a good review into stats or even punting, but I just like the Wildcats, man. Like, it's a good vibe when you go to the game. It's always full. You know Bryce Cotton's going to be smashing it. Like, he was sinking threes like he was eating them for breakfast.
Out of control, man.
It was out of control. And being Hoops Fest as well, there was some pretty cool people sitting in the crowd. Like, Nick Kyrgios was there because he's a part owner of the Phoenix. Of course, we had some NBA players there as well, like Kenny Smith, who's won a couple of championships.
Carmelo there.
And the big dog, Carmelo. Carmelo sitting on the sidelines. That was pretty cool. That's showtime.
It's been hard to squeeze them all in down at Wildcats HQ there. It's been tough to bump a few of the locals.
Yeah.
The row 4.
Boys. You do know what happened, and people weren't happy. So, essentially, the Wildcats game wasn't for members. So if you're a member, you couldn't get a ticket.
Right.
You had to buy a ticket.
Glad I'm not the membership manager there anymore, mate.
Yeah, I know.
Tough week there.
But they only told them about a week out. Like, I spoke to a lot of members who were pretty pissed off because they just assumed in the lead up that they were getting a game, like they were getting a ticket to the game.
course she would have.
And, yeah, boom, it didn't happen that to go by.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah. I've been in situations similar like that in round finals when I was working there and selling tickets. And, yeah, you don't want to get on the wrong side of the members.
No, and I get it. I get it in a way because they did actually cut out a whole heap of seats for the boombox thing they had. So members would miss out. But at the same time, you go, like, they're probably the main ones who are going to be at the basketball anyway.
Yeah, that's right. They're the diehards, man.
Yeah. So they probably charged everyone who was a member for a ticket.
Yeah, that's crazy, yeah. Crazy. There are a couple of... I mean, I watched the game live at home. Cotton and Pinder, as you said, 55 points, 12 three-pointers between them. Unbelievable. They ran at 8-point winners over the Phoenix, who came back really hard in that last quarter. Turned into actually a bit of a slugfest in the last 5 or 6 minutes. Bryce Cotton, he might be the best player the league's ever seen by the time he's finished. He just finds a way to score threes when they need him. And then it was great to see Pinder share the load, 14 points in a quarter, and a massive dunk too.
He's good.
We love, man.
I love the story around him, how he wears that face mask now because it makes him feel better.
Yeah.
Like
The
he had
Batman
a broken
style.
nose or something. Yeah, Batman.
Yeah, it's very Batmanish.
And now he just wears it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like to see him without it if it makes an impact on how he plays. But, he was unstoppable. And I guess if you can have a punt on the Wildcats this weekend, there's a little tab touch special here too, man. You got Bryce Cotton and Jason Adams from Sydney, who plays Sydney. Jason Adams to score 40 points combined, and Doolittle to have 8 rebounds. He had 12 last weekend. That's a lock at $4.25, up from $3.
Love it.
Yeah, man. If you're going to get on the Wildcats First Kings, that's definitely one to have a look at.
Oh, yeah, I might take that. Mate, we'll move on to Belmont. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I haven't really looked at the racing this week because I've just been so engrossed in the footy. That's where my focus has been. So I know you've done a bit of research on Belmont this week, so I'm going to just hand it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Thanks for putting me in front of the bus here in Belmont. Look, I just pay attention to the racing, mate, because it's the only place I seem to be winning any bets at the moment. So you focus on the footy, I'll focus on the racing. Belmont's drawing to a close, as we know. Kalgoorlie actually hosts the only standalone Saturday race meeting of any regional club next weekend.
Oh, so this is the last week of Belmont?
Yeah, I think so. We go back to Ascot mid-October.
There you go.
So, yeah, I guess I'm heading up to Cal next week, which is going to be pretty bloody exciting.
Are you going?
Yeah, just for Hannons on the Wednesday to host the high values there. So
Beautiful.
that'll be good fun.
How you getting there, train or flying?
Flying, mate, yeah. Yeah,
beautiful.
Little small one of those 6-seater planes, which sends my anxiety.
6-seater?
Yeah, it's one
so
of those
you're taking 4 people? Are you? Like you and the pilot and 4 people?
It's just my private jet there, mate. Look, it's a pretty exciting weekend at Belmont. You got the Blackheart Bart Stakes, a horse which I absolutely loved, man.
Great horse.
Just brings back so many fond memories. Won 6 Group 1s, and after a layoff for a year, I was working at Caulfield at the time, come back and won the Underwood Stakes at 100-1. I backed him that day. Probably my best ever racing win. And he was, speaking of horse ownership, 20K purchase, man. He goes on to win $4.8 million in prize money. Wowee.
Yeah, that just does not happen very often.
Next level, man.
It happens. It does happen, but not very often.
No, that's the dream we sell, though, isn't it?
It is.
Own the dream. Sign up if you haven't at the end this year.
Hey, I'm prepared to buy into that dream.
So, yeah, man, I guess the main race, we'll get through it pretty quickly. Magnificent Andy, Search and Rock, Super Smink, they're all familiar names in WA. I like a horse called Aztec Ruler. He's $15 and $3.60 for the place. Loves it first up, man. 4 starts for a win in a second. And the distance, he's 3 races at 1,200 for a win in a second.
Yeah, right.
So he's up in grade, but I love the horse. And I think it's a black booker for me over the spring and might actually take on some of these better horses in the coming races. And then Search and Rocks is the $2. Search and Rocks is the $2 favourite there at the moment. And I'll have a little bit of something on him as a cover as well. So Aztec Ruler and Search and Rocks there at Belmont.
Beautiful. Hey, when we go over east, though, there's 2 big races, right? So
huge.
Tell us about Fian Stakes first, though, because that's Pride of Jenny and Mr. Brightside going at it for a second time this year.
And scared every other horse off.
Yeah.
It's a 4-horse field, right?
Why would you even bother rocking up? And they've just taken that to heart. Is it actually a 4-horse field?
It is a 4-horse field, legitimately, man. I have seen a 3-horse field once when I was working at Caulfield in the Caulfield Stakes. Winks ran in that race and scared everyone off. Jenny had 2 rivals and they both picked up, I don't know, a couple $100,000 in prize money.
That's insane.
So it does happen. So, yeah, the Fian Stakes, I won't be backing any horses in that race. I think Pride of Jenny's probably where she should be now and might give Brightside a bit more of a scare this weekend. And then, yeah, I think Pride of Jenny will take a lot of form from that last run, and she'll be at the peak of her powers on Friday night, man. But there's a better race on called the Manikato.
Oh, I never heard of it. No, that's good. That's good. That's very good, mate. A $2 million race. This is all
man.
huge.
I love the big sprint features, and this is one of them. I Wish I Win, V8, Estriella, Growing Empire, Hayasugi. They're all these horses which we've been seeing in prior weeks. It's a pretty tough race to pick, but I'm going to go with Hayasugi, 50 kilos in the back. Jamie Carr, who's been in great form. Had an epic run in the Moir, and I think I'll be boxing Hayasugi, Growing Empire, Southport Tycoon, and I Wish I Win in a little bit of a box trifecta there, mate.
I Wish I Win. That's your horse, man.
Yeah,
you love
I
that.
know. I love the horse. I think it's heading towards the Everest, so this is just a warm-up for me. I don't know if it's going to get there at that Moonee Valley, and it's a track where you need to lead around the bend, man.
Yep.
It's a short straight. You don't have that time to wind up like you do at Caulfield or at Randwick, so I think I Wish I Win will probably just find it a little bit short.
Beautiful. All right. Well, it's good to know, mate. It's very good to know. Jamie Carr last weekend, very good, by the way.
Yeah.
Won quite a few races.
She got my horse up there, another wheel, which I'm eternally grateful for, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. Well done. Just very quickly, the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you very much for the tip that you gave us. Essentially, those Tab Touch bonus odds were lovely. Oscar Piastri to place was $5. You could put a max of 30 on it. I absolutely went that full limit. 150 in the coffers. Easy done, mate. Lando Norris, as we predicted, won the Grand Prix there in Singapore. Yep. But the man, and he's going to be hero of the week, is Daniel Ricciardo as well. He ended up running 18th. They were saying it's going to be his last race. That's yet to be confirmed, so we'll see what happens. But the one thing with Daniel, which was pretty cool, was that they actually put new tyres on for his last lap, and he got the fastest lap of the day.
That was awesome,
cool.
mate. That was so good.
It was good. I like that you're into F1s now.
Yeah, mate, I'm getting around it, I guess. Listening to you excited you get on the potty. So it got me into it. And the Drive to Survive stuff, obviously, too, which is pretty important.
100%.
Educating people. So racing needs to do something similar, I reckon.
Oh, I like where your head's at there. I like where your head's at there.
Keep my powder dry, mate. Might be my game-changing idea.
Ooh.
Keep me in a job a bit longer.
Ooh, there you go. Nico's going to be onto the doco. I like this, mate. All right, let's move on to Risto's roast. Once again, mate, you've gotten angry. Yeah. Let's go through what has really got up your goat this week.
Well, mate, I love seeing the WA homegrown hero, Paddy Cripps, win the Brownlow.
Paddy.
You know, it was a runaway win. Broke all records. Real shine on the night. But what we didn't really like is all the controversy that's been surrounding the Brownlow and the voting system.
Ooh.
So the umpires originally requested from the AFL, we want the stats, mate, prior to casting the votes. Gil, and now Andrew, give us the stats. The AFL's denied giving the stats to the umpires. Obviously, that may change the way the votes are held. But what we saw on Monday night, they probably bloody should have, mate, to be honest, because there were a couple of bloody howlers, weren't there?
There were some shockers, man.
Oh, man. I mean,
big misses.
There were, man. You got two Dacos brothers, right? There are two brothers playing the game. They don't actually look anything like each other, in my opinion, do they?
Oh, I reckon they look pretty similar, actually.
Well, one's got the longer hair, one's got the shorter hair. They're a bit different. One's a bit stockier than the other, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, maybe I'm a bit of a hardcore, but I can tell the difference, mate. But anyway, Nick Dacos puts in his worst performance of the year. Only 15 disposals.
Yeah.
He gets subbed off out of the game. His brother Josh racks up 34 and does not get a single vote. A single vote goes to Nick, his brother, who's subbed off, man.
How does that work?
Take a long spell, whoever voted in that bloody game, all right? Because it's a prestigious award for the game. It's just not bloody good enough, right?
Nah, that's shocking.
So not happy about that. Then, love the other awards, mate. Mark of the year, goal of the year.
Yes.
You know, these are some exciting highlights for the fans at home and the fans at the Brownlow to actually watch. And Harley Reid's been copping a lot of flack.
Has he?
For his goal. Yeah, everyone's saying it should have gone to Dacos. He had two better ones.
Nah.
You know, typical Eastern Staters.
Yep.
You know, swim in your lane, mate. Dacos' nomination, he had two, fair enough. It was nowhere near better than Harley's. Harley has stiff-armed and given the old Dusty Martin to two of the All-Australian mids.
Yes.
Run up, kick that one from 50. I don't care if it's his first year or his 10th year. It's goal of the year.
Huge.
So all of you guys coming after him, just take a step back, would you?
Yep, bang.
And then, you know, I couldn't leave the roast without mentioning my name, my man Bond.
You're not happy about this, are you?
Nah, he was pretty stiff, man. He worked his way forward against us, and I talked about it in the podcast, beat three Fremantle players.
Yeah.
Kicks that goal over the shoulder. When they're both All-Australians, by the way.
Yeah.
That he's beaten. And absolutely no love for a nomination for goal of the year.
I will admit that was surprising.
Oh, mate, it was. And so, you know, it's a light-hearted roast this week, but there are a couple of things in there where I thought, you know, we're about 95% of the way there.
Yeah.
But the next 5% is also crucial.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Mate, Your boy, the Bont, you were so angry about that. You were like so angry about it.
Yeah, I wasn't happy.
You didn't like my Trelaw comment before either. Bont was stealing votes off Trelaw.
Maybe post-show. Mate, we'll have to reflect. But no, it was a great count. But yeah, a couple of things there, mate. You just can't let them get away with that sort of thing, can you?
No, fair. You got to roast them. That's what it's all about.
Oh, mate,
Fire it up.
Absolutely.
Fire it up. Mate, we're going to go on to some heroes of the week while we're at it. I've tried to go a bit random this week, sort of like delve into the depths of some odd sports. So first up, this isn't included in that sort of theme, but Daniel Ricciardo, driver of the day on Sunday night in Singapore, had the fastest lap, could well win Max Verstappen the championship at this point because that point that Lando Norris did not get because if you get the fastest lap of the day, you get a point. Could win the championship. It's going to be very close in the end.
People wouldn't know that much about Grand Prix, would they?
No, they wouldn't.
It's important, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. And if you don't finish top 10, you don't get a point. It just goes into the ether. It doesn't exist.
We love that from Ricciardo.
Yep. So he's done well.
Well done, Ricciardo.
Done very well.
Last lap, mate, was pretty impressive, wasn't it?
It was very impressive. I think we're going to give him a quick little clap if I can find it. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Well done, Dan.
Now, mate,
sorry you lost your spot to the Kiwi potentially, but that's all right.
It hasn't happened yet. That's the weird thing.
Okay.
That's the annoying part about this whole thing, man, is that they just haven't come out and said what's going on.
Definite nomination for the Hero of the Week. Good work there, mate.
Yep,
good start.
Love it. All right, so we're going to move on to Arissa True. Now, you remember her. She was the 14-year-old Aussie skateboarder, gold at the Olympics. She's amazing. She's won another gold medal in the women's park skateboarding at the X Games in Japan over the weekend.
Wow.
She has become the first person to win 5 X Games titles before the age of 15. It's huge.
That's ridiculous.
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's off the charts.
It's nuts. And it's not a mainstream sport, so she probably doesn't get the adulation she deserves from the Aussie public, but she's going to get it from us. She's a hero of the week.
They're so well done. No relation to Zane True.
Zane True?
The delisted player from West Coast.
Could they be siblings?
They might be. On opposite ends of the stick at the moment, though, aren't they, I guess?
They are. Jeez,
well done, Arissa.
Someone's funding that family. I'm going to move on to another weirdie. It's ultra athlete Neil Agus. Now, he's completed the world's longest non-stop swim earlier this week. 37 years old. He swam 140 Ks around the islands of Malta, Gozo, and Camino in the Mediterranean Sea. Took him 50 hours, continuous swimming, and the world record ratification from Guinness is pending.
That is insane.
It's nuts, eh?
What?
How long do you reckon you could swim for?
Dude, I'm 37. I couldn't swim 340 metres.
Age is just a number, mate. Age is just a number.
140 kilometres around the islands. Oh.
It's huge.
Any sharkies?
He obviously fought him off if there was, because he kept swimming.
Well done, Neil.
Mate, a little bit of conjecture around the office on this one. Is it Tony Popovic or Popovich?
Well, I'm full on that bucket, as you know, mate. I like to go with Ick.
Ick. Yes.
Everyone assumes the itch, but you got to be careful, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, mate, if there was anyone to ask, it was probably you, being a Nick Ristovic. So,
Tony
beautiful.
Popovic, I think, mate, we'll go with.
Okay, Popovic. I love it. So he's been appointed coach of the Socceroos just days after Graham Arnold resigned. He's a former Socceroo himself, 58 times he played for his country. Also coached the Melbourne Victory, who won the Australia Cup in 2022. So it's a big job for him, and it's going to be very interesting to see how he goes, eh?
It is, mate, yeah. Pretty tough to step into those shoes, isn't it?
Huge
pressure role.
And the thing is, like, we're just not very good at soccer anyway, yet it's a really high-pressure job. You know, like, there's big expectations. Don't you think?
No, I agree, man. It's a great shout. Like, you're not taking on the Rolls-Royce of countries to coach, eh?
It's not Man U, you know? Like,
no.
But we expect big things, and we sack those coaches if they don't do well.
Yeah, we
it's
do.
like we're just not that good.
Yeah, the women's side would be the gig, wouldn't it? Matildas.
Oh, even that. Like, that
Tough.
guy got sacked pretty recently.
It's a revolving door there.
It's rough being a coach.
Retention's not great there at the head coaching role.
No, it's tough. All right, let's move on to this week's bets.
Yes, we love this, don't
all
we?
right, so we're going to start off with you.
All right, mate. I'm going to take Heaney and Zorko with the Tab Touch special.
Boom.
$10 each. Heaney's 5, Zorko's 11. 30 possessions or 3 goals kicked, money back. So I thought that's a pretty good bet. The racing double, again, backing up again after last week. A growing empire at Moonee Valley in the Manikato for the place at $1.80 into one of the best horses in the country in broadsiding in the Golden Rose.
Love it.
It was $2.90 last night. It's out at $3.20. So I had $6.40 for the double. It's probably $6.70 now, and I've got $40 on, man. I'm going hard.
Hello.
So I bet 250 plus collect if that gets
Hello.
up. It's a growing empire in the Manikato for the place. Broadsiding at Rosehill and the Golden Rose. Get on. Last bet. Grand final exclusive with Tab Touch, mate. We've got a grand final experts exclusive, which is Danaher and Papley to combine for 4.
Ooh, I like it.
Neil, Goulden, and Rayner to combine for 60.
Hello.
It's boosted to $4. Max bet $20. So it's an 80 bucker if it gets up. But I think Goulden and Neil in particular, they shouldn't leave much work for Rayner to do there to get to 60, man.
I like those stats, actually. That's a very good bet. I'll be taking that as well.
Yeah, you going to get on it?
Yeah.
What are you thinking, pal? What do you got on?
Well, I'm just going to change it a bit now because I think I might take that.
Oh, yes. Is what we like.
So I might put $10 on that. I'm going to follow you in the Manikato as well. So I'm going to put $10 in a jinx bet.
On the double?
On the double. I like it.
Beautiful, mate.
And then I'm going to take, so that's $20. That leaves me 80. So I'm going to put 15 on Will Haywood for the Norm Smith at 81. 15 on Charlie Cameron for the Norm Smith at 34. And then I'm going to chuck 50 on Isaac Heaney in the bet that I really liked, which was the 20 posies and 2+ goals. 275.
Yeah, that's pretty juicy. Yeah.
I'm going to put 50
That's
on
your cover, isn't it?
Yep.
You get your $120 or so back.
Love it.
You're in the grain. And then, you got a couple others riding still, don't you?
Yeah. And then, if that gets up, then all the rest is cream.
Man, I like it. He followed me in, so they'll definitely all go down in flames now.
It's always the way. It's always the bloody way.
We'll see how we go.
Oh, geez. We do have a few more, though, listener bets, which we love. We'll get started with Locko's NFL bet. Why not?
Yeah, he has gone 3 legs, man.
3 legs. I like it.
He's taken it down a notch. Houston Texans head-to-head against Jacksonville.
Yep.
Philly versus Bucks to go for 44.5. And Kansas City head-to-head against LA Chargers is paying 310. Now, the Texans are playing nicely, he reckons. The Jags, not so bloody good.
Right.
This advice burnt me last week, so I'm hoping it stays true this week. So he's gone again. Well done, mate.
Love it.
Philly versus Bucks should be an awesome offensive game, says Locko. Weapons on both sides. If you put this on late, have a separate look at anytime touchdown scorer markets for Saquon Barkley and Chris Godwin.
Okay.
So there's some little tip there from Logo.
Saquon and Chris, I like it.
Yeah, and then Kansas continue to get ref favouritism in true Nick Dacos style and should topple over the Chargers. Bit of humour there from Loco.
Love that from him.
Well done there, Oggy.
Love that from him. Okay, so we're saying Kelsey is the Dacos.
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think that's exactly what he's saying, yeah.
It's probably true, or
Subtle
maybe
undertones.
it's Mahomes, one of the two.
And then our man Tones is back, isn't he?
Yeah, our man Tones is back. So let's have a look at what he's going on the EPL. So he's gone a 5-leg multi this week, so he continues to go big or go home. He keeps missing by a leg. Okay, so Newcastle and Manchester City, this is in the EPL, 2.5 goals combined. Ipswich and Aston Villa, still in the EPL, 2.5 goals combined as well. We're going to German soccer now. Bayern Munich and Bayern Leverkusen, 2.5 goals. He loves that 2.5 goal line. And then we're into the Italian soccer, AC Milan and both Inter Milan head-to-head. He hasn't given me odds once again, so I'm not sure where he's running with there. I will put it into my system myself, but not right now. But a 5-leg multi for the EPL. Will you be taking that, Nick?
I'll probably stay out of the soccer. I'm not going very well on the footy, so step out in unfamiliar territory probably won't be my go.
Fair.
But may I add that your pronunciation in particular of these exotic sides gets better and better every week, mate. I feel like Tones just stitches you up with the words, the hardest sides to pronounce. So Tones, mate, credit to Robbie. He's delivered it well beautifully today.
It's just a stitch up because I probably said every single one of those names wrong.
I loved it, mate. Absolutely bloody nailed it.
And finally, mate, our mate Liam McLaughlin loves getting involved. So he's got a couple here. I'll be interested to hear what you think of this. Race 2, number 4. I'm assuming this is Belmont.
Yep.
Blue Rockets. Ready to peak, 3rd up. And race 3, number 9, Miss Flirtatious, which is coming off a nice trial. Both will be short, especially if the Durant horses run on Thursday. Yeah. So multi him.
This is the time to multi the short prices. I like it. He's followed the similar theme to the wider body bet on the horses last week. Durant has a stable that's flying at the moment.
Yeah.
So, mate, you can't go wrong. I don't know what the double was paying there, but race 2, number 4, Blue Rocket, and race 3, number 9, Miss Flirtatious. For the double. So good luck, punters out there, and thanks again to Liam, who's getting bold.
Mate, love it. Hey, it's been a big episode. because there's been so much going on in the footy, we've run a bit longer than usual, but I reckon that's great because we had to get through all of this,
So it's a grand final edition, mate.
It's a grand final edition, exactly right.
There's a lot to unpack. We're going to get the punters on the winning ledger this week, so the insights are important.
They are, and do you know what's going to happen? Next week, the footy's going to be done, and we're going to be scratching around and looking at other sports. Like, this is why we've brought in NFL and those sort of things.
NBL.
So
you're going to stay with your Grand Prix. I'm going to start to get a bit more specialised in the NBL environment.
Love that.
NBL multis, and then racing, mate. There's nothing heating down the racing game, I'll tell you.
Well, I think
Group 1's coming up.
Racing's going to be the jewel in the crown, really, isn't it?
We better start winning it.
So true. All right, on that note, let's get out of here, mate. Have a great weekend of punting. Enjoy the grand final, and we'll do it again next week.
You too, buddy. Have a great week, and look forward to the result on Monday. And if you have any punt in the weekend, make sure you do it responsibly.
The game begins. Betting on sports with our expert experience. From football fields to courtside drills. Punt Pals podcast, we pay the bills.